My name is Monica, and my story begins in a bustling household where love was abundant, if not always equally distributed. Growing up, our home was a cacophony of laughter, cries, and the constant patter of little feet. I was the second oldest, sandwiched between my brother Jake, who was just a year my senior, and my two younger sisters, Emma and Lily, who came into our lives when I was already in my early teens. From an early age, I learned the art of responsibility. While other kids my age were out playing, I was often found in our modest kitchen, helping Mom prepare dinner or in the living room, cradling a fussy Emma or Lily. It wasn't always easy, but it taught me invaluable lessons about compassion and hard work. Our parents, John and Sarah, were hard-working individuals who dreamed of giving us a better life than they had. Dad worked long hours at the local factory, while Mom juggled part-time jobs and household duties. They weren't rich by any means, but they managed to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. However, there was an undercurrent in our family dynamics that I couldn't ignore. Jake, my older brother, seemed to hold a special place in our parents' hearts. "Jake's the oldest," Dad would say, ruffling his hair affectionately. "He's carrying on the family name. That comes with responsibilities and perks." As we grew older, the disparity became more apparent. When it came time for high school graduation, Jake got a car. I got a heartfelt card and a promise that they'd help with college expenses. It wasn't that I was unloved, far from it. But the preference was clear, and it shaped our family dynamics in subtle ways. My sisters, Emma and Lily, looked up to me with adoring eyes. Being significantly younger, they often saw me as a second mother figure. I took this role seriously, determined to be the kind of role model they deserved. As high school drew to a close, I set my sights on college. My parents, true to their word, had set aside money for our education. It wasn't enough to cover everything, but it was a start. I chose to study finance, a practical field that I hoped would lead to a stable career. My chosen field of study, finance, proved to be as demanding as I'd anticipated. Long nights in the library became my new normal, but I tackled each assignment with the same determination I'd applied to helping Mom with household chores. Despite the workload, I made sure to call home regularly. Mom would fill me in on the family gossip, Dad would grunt his hellos, and my sisters would fight over the phone to tell me about their days. Jake's updates were less frequent, usually relayed through Mom. He'd started working at a local company, showing little interest in further education. Our parents, especially Dad, seemed pleased with his progress. "Your brother's really finding his feet in the business world," Dad would say during our infrequent conversations. "He's got a knack for it." I'd murmur my agreement, pushing down the small spark of competitiveness that flared up. This wasn't a race, I reminded myself. We each had our own paths to follow. As the years passed, I threw myself into my studies and part-time jobs, determined to make the most of the opportunity my parents had given me. Their financial support, while not covering everything, was a lifeline I was deeply grateful for. I knew the sacrifices they were making to keep me in school, and I was determined not to let them down. Graduation day arrived before I knew it. As I stood in my cap and gown, diploma in hand, I scanned the crowd for my family. There they were, Mom and Dad beaming with pride, Emma and Lily waving enthusiastically, and even Jake had made it, standing a bit apart with a half-smile on his face. After the ceremony, Mom hugged me tight. "We're so proud of you, honey," she said, her eyes glistening. Dad nodded, patting my shoulder awkwardly but affectionately. "You've done well, Monica. Now it's time to make your mark in the world." As we celebrated over dinner, I shared my plans to stay in the city and start my career. A part of me had considered returning home, but the opportunities here were too good to pass up. My entry-level position at a financial firm demanded long hours. Visits home became less frequent, limited to major holidays and the occasional long weekend. But I never forgot my roots, calling regularly and sending care packages to my sisters. It was during one of my rare visits home, nearly a decade after I'd first left for college, that everything changed. I was sitting in the kitchen with Mom, catching up over coffee, when my phone rang. It was my boss. "Monica, I have some news," he said, his voice unusually serious. "We're opening a new branch in your hometown, and I want you to head it up. It's a big promotion, but it would mean relocating. Are you interested?" "Yes," I heard myself say. "I'm definitely interested." When I got the job offer back in my hometown, my company said they'd pay for an apartment. But Mom and Dad insisted I move back home. "Come on, Monica," Mom pleaded, "it'll be just like old times." I couldn't say no. On my first day back, I walked into our old house. It looked smaller than I remembered. Emma and Lily, now in their late teens, ran to hug me. Jake lived separately and was already engaged. Later that night, after unpacking, I sat with Emma and Lily in our old room. It felt good to be back, listening to their stories and laughing together. "So, tell me about Jake's fiancée," I said. Emma and Lily shared a look. "Her name's Vanessa," Emma said slowly. "She's different." Lily nodded. "Yeah, she's from a rich family. Her dad owns the company Jake works for now." Something in their tone made me curious. "Different how?" They didn't say much more, just shrugged and changed the subject. I decided to drop it for now. The next few weeks were busy. I started my new job, setting up the branch office. It was hard work, but I loved it. In the evenings, I'd help Emma and Lily with homework or chat with Mom while she cooked dinner. One Sunday, we were all sitting around the table when the doorbell rang. Mom jumped up to answer it. "It's Jake and Vanessa," she called out. I stood up, eager to see my brother and meet his fiancée. Jake walked in first, looking sharp in a suit. Behind him was a tall, slim woman with perfect hair and clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Vanessa looked around our house like it was beneath her. "Oh, how quaint," she said, picking up one of Mom's knickknacks. I watched, confused, as Mom and Dad fussed over her. They kept asking if she needed anything, apologizing for the smallest things. Emma and Lily were quiet, eyes down. When Vanessa made a nasty comment about Lily's clothes, I'd had enough. I pulled Emma aside. "What's going on?" I whispered. "Why is everyone letting her act like this?" Emma sighed. "Jake works for her dad now. It's a big deal. Mom and Dad are scared if we upset her, Jake might lose his job." I was shocked. This wasn't the family I knew. We'd never let anyone treat us like this before. Things got worse at dinner. Vanessa started on me, making snide remarks about my job and clothes. I saw red. "Look," I snapped, "I don't know who you think you are, but in this house, we treat each other with respect. If you can't do that, maybe you should leave." The room went silent. Vanessa's face turned ugly. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and stormed out. Jake followed, looking torn. As soon as they left, Mom and Dad rounded on me. "Monica, how could you?" Mom cried. "You know how important this is for Jake." Dad looked disappointed. "You need to control your temper. This could ruin everything for your brother." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They kept at it, begging me to apologize, to be the bigger person. Finally, just to shut them up, I agreed to try and make peace with Vanessa. The weeks flew by, and suddenly Jake's wedding was all anyone could talk about. Vanessa took charge, bossing everyone around like she was running a military operation instead of planning a party. She dragged us to endless dress fittings, insisting we buy expensive gowns that matched the venue's aesthetic. When I suggested something more affordable, Vanessa just laughed. "Oh, Monica," she sneered, "we can't have you looking cheap at my wedding, can we?" The bachelorette party was next on her list. Vanessa handed out a minute-by-minute schedule, complete with mandatory activities and outfit changes. It was ridiculous, but Mom kept giving me these pleading looks, so I bit my tongue. Then came the bombshell. Vanessa wanted us to dance at the wedding. Not just a simple waltz, mind you. No, she was planning a full-on performance. "It'll be the highlight of the reception," she gushed. "You'll all look so cute." My stomach dropped. I'd hurt my back years ago in a car accident. Dancing wasn't really my thing anymore. But I figured, how bad could it be? Turns out, pretty bad. I showed up at the dance studio, and the choreographer started talking about splits and lifts and all sorts of crazy moves. Vanessa was there, barking orders like a drill sergeant. "Come on, ladies, put your backs into it." I pulled out my phone, thinking I'd record it to practice later. But as I watched, I realized there was no way I could do this. It was way too much. "Hold on," I said, "this is insane. We're not circus performers, Vanessa. I can't do these moves." Vanessa's face turned ugly. "What do you mean, you can't? Of course you can. Stop being difficult, Monica." I stood my ground. "No, I mean it. I have an old back injury. This kind of dancing isn't possible for me." That's when Vanessa really lost it. She started yelling, throwing around words I won't repeat. Then she hit me with this gem. "Fine. If you won't dance, you owe Jake $3,500 as a wedding gift. It's only fair, since you're ruining my special day." I was speechless. I looked at Emma and Lily, hoping they'd back me up. But they just stared at the floor, Mom's warnings clearly ringing in their ears. That was it. I'd had enough. "You know what, Vanessa? Keep your damn dance. I'm out of here." I stormed out of the studio, my hands shaking as I clutched my phone. The video of that disastrous rehearsal was still recording. As I walked home, my mind raced. What was I going to do now? How had things gotten this messed up? I burst through the front door, still fuming from the dance rehearsal fiasco. Mom and Dad were in the living room, and they could tell something was wrong. I spilled everything: the impossible dance routine, Vanessa's outrageous behavior, the $3,500 ultimatum. I expected sympathy, maybe even anger on my behalf. What I got was something else entirely. Dad's face turned red. "Monica, how could you? After everything we've talked about. This wedding is so important for Jake's future. You need to apologize to Vanessa right now and agree to do the dance." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Apologize? For what? Having a spine injury? Standing up for myself? "Stop being so selfish," Dad shouted. "This isn't about you. It's about Jake's happiness and success." "So my happiness doesn't matter?" I shot back. "My health?" The argument escalated quickly. Voices raised, tears were shed. I stood my ground, refusing to cave to Vanessa's ridiculous demands. That's when Dad dropped the bomb. "If you can't support your brother and his fiancée, then maybe you shouldn't be here at all." The room went silent. I packed a bag that night, ignoring Mom's half-hearted attempts to smooth things over. The next day, I moved into the apartment my company had originally offered. It was small and empty, but at least it was mine. The wedding came and went. I didn't attend, couldn't bear the thought of watching my family kowtow to Vanessa's every whim. I spent that day alone in my apartment, alternating between anger and sadness. A few days later, my phone exploded with notifications. Vanessa had made a post on social media, a long, dramatic tale about how I had tried to ruin her perfect day. She painted herself as the victim, me as the jealous, spiteful sister-in-law. The comments were worse. Relatives I hadn't seen in years were suddenly experts on my character, condemning me for my selfish and cruel behavior. Even Emma and Lily liked the post, a betrayal that cut deep. The call started soon after. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all wanting to tell me how disappointed they were, how I should be ashamed of myself. Emma tried to reach out once, sent a text saying she missed me. But when I suggested meeting up, she backpedaled, said Vanessa wouldn't like it. I didn't try again after that. I threw myself into my work, hoping to finish the project quickly and leave this town behind. But things kept getting delayed, problems cropping up that required my personal attention. Each extension felt like a twist of the knife. Months passed, and I settled into a lonely routine. Work, home, sleep, repeat. I'd almost gotten used to the silence when my phone rang one night. It was Lily. "Monica?" Her voice was small, trembling. "Can we talk?" We met at a cafe across town, away from prying eyes. Lily looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess. She burst into tears the moment she saw me. "I'm so sorry, Monica," she sobbed. "You were right about everything." Slowly, the whole story came out. After the wedding, Vanessa had shown her true colors. She'd been ordering Emma and Lily around like servants, making them clean her house, cook meals, do laundry, all without pay. "She says it's our duty as family," Lily said bitterly. "And Jake, he just goes along with it. He sees how she treats us and does nothing." My blood boiled. "What about Mom and Dad? Surely they don't approve?" Lily's laugh was hollow. "They think it's great. Say we're building character and cementing family bonds. It's like they're brainwashed or something." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was worse than I'd imagined. "I'm so sorry I didn't stand up for you before," Lily whispered. I was scared. We all were. But now, I can't take it anymore. "Please, Monica, help us." The next day, I marched over to our parents' house. Mom answered the door, her smile fading when she saw me. "Monica, what are you doing here?" I pushed past her into the living room. Dad was there, looking up from his newspaper with a frown. "We need to talk," I said. "About Vanessa. About how she's treating Emma and Lily." Mom's face hardened. "I don't know what Lily's been telling you, but..." "Don't," I cut her off. "Don't try to deny it. I know everything. How can you let this happen? They're your daughters." Dad stood up, his voice cold. "Now you listen here, Monica. Vanessa is family now. She's given Jake opportunities we could only dream of. If the girls need to pitch in a little, that's a small price to pay." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A little? She's treating them like slaves. And you're okay with this?" "You're exaggerating," Mom said weakly. "The girls are fine. They're just..." "Just what, Mom?" "Just being abused by their sister-in-law while their parents look the other way." Dad's face turned red. "That's enough. I won't have you coming in here, stirring up trouble. Vanessa is Jake's wife. She's wealthy, connected. She can give this family a future. If you can't accept that, then maybe you're not really part of this family anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at them, these strangers wearing my parents' faces. "So that's it?" I said quietly. "You're choosing money over your own children?" Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad just glared. "Get out," he said. "And don't come back until you're ready to apologize to Vanessa and Jake." I left, my legs shaky, my heart breaking all over again. As I walked away from my childhood home, I realized a hard truth: I couldn't change their minds. They were too far gone, too seduced by the promise of wealth and status. But I couldn't abandon Emma and Lily. Somehow, some way, I had to find a way to help them. To save them from Vanessa, from our parents' willful blindness, and from the fate they seemed determined to accept. That day started like any other. I was preparing for a big meeting, reviewing notes, and straightening my jacket. Then I saw the name on the guest list: Robert Thompson, CEO of Thompson Industries. Vanessa's father. My heart raced. He wouldn't know me. I'd missed the wedding, after all. But I knew him, the man whose money had torn my family apart. The meeting began, all handshakes and forced smiles. Robert didn't give me a second glance. We discussed business, crunched numbers, argued points. Then came the coffee break. I found myself next to Robert, both of us refilling our cups. He started chatting, casual small talk that somehow turned to parenting. "You know," he said, puffing up with pride, "I raised my Vanessa to be humble. Never let her flaunt our wealth. She grew up modest, well-mannered. Even married a regular guy. She respects everyone, treats them like family." Something in me snapped. Without a word, I pulled out my phone and hit play on a video I'd almost forgotten about. There was Vanessa, red-faced and screaming at the dance rehearsal. "You stupid scum," she shrieked on screen. "Pay $3,500 or get out. I won't have you ruining my wedding." The color drained from Robert's face. He watched, horrified, as his daughter berated me, my sisters, the other bridesmaids. When it ended, silence fell. "I had no idea," Robert whispered. "She's always so polite around me." I thought. I believed. I steeled myself for anger, for him to storm out. Instead, he looked at me, eyes pleading. "Please," he said. "Tell me everything." So I did. The cruel comments, the forced labor, the way she'd turned my family against me. With each word, Robert seemed to age years. "I'm so sorry," he said when I finished. "I've failed as a father. Please, let me try to make this right." Before I could respond, he was on his feet. "Come with me," he said. "Now." We drove to Jake and Vanessa's house in silence. Robert's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. The scene inside was worse than I'd imagined. Emma was there, wearing a maid's uniform, scrubbing floors. Vanessa lounged on the couch, barking orders. Robert exploded. "Vanessa, what is the meaning of this? How dare you treat people like this? Your own family." Vanessa's shock turned to anger. She pointed at Emma. "I won't apologize to servants." Robert's face turned purple. "That's it. You're cut off. No more money, no more house. I'm ashamed to call you my daughter." Jake tried to intervene. "Sir, please. The girls don't mind helping out. It's no big deal." Robert rounded on him. "And you? Letting your wife abuse your sisters? You're fired. Both of you, out of my sight." He turned to me and Emma, his voice softening. "I'm so sorry. For everything. Please, let me help make this right." As we left, Vanessa's shrieks fading behind us, I felt a mix of emotions, relief, vindication, but also sadness. This was a Pyrrhic victory at best. The fallout from Robert's intervention was swift and merciless. Instead of seeing reason, my parents doubled down on their support for Jake and Vanessa. They were furious with me, blaming me for ruining Jake's cushy life. "How could you do this to your own brother?" Mom wailed over the phone. "He had everything, and now it's all gone because of you." Dad was even worse. "You've always been jealous of Jake," he spat. "Well, congratulations. You've destroyed this family. Don't bother coming around anymore. You're not welcome here." Their words hurt, but I wasn't surprised. They'd made their choice long ago, and it wasn't me or my sisters they'd chosen. I threw myself into work, finishing up the project that had kept me in my hometown for so long. The day it was complete, I packed up my apartment and left without looking back. I found a new position in another city, desperate for a fresh start. Months passed. I built a new life, made new friends, tried to forget the family that had rejected me. But I couldn't stop worrying about Emma and Lily. I'd send texts, but the responses were always short, evasive. Then, one rainy night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Emma and Lily, soaked to the bone, suitcases in hand. "Monica," Emma said, her voice breaking. "We need your help." Over cups of hot tea, they told me everything. Jake and Vanessa, broke and jobless, had moved back in with our parents. But instead of humbling them, it had made Vanessa even more tyrannical. "She treats the house like her personal kingdom," Lily explained. "And us? We're just her servants." "Mom and Dad don't do anything," Emma added. "They're so afraid of Jake leaving that they let Vanessa do whatever she wants." My heart broke for them. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" They exchanged guilty looks. "We were ashamed," Lily admitted. "And scared. Vanessa threatened to make things even worse if we reached out to you." "But we couldn't take it anymore," Emma said. "Please, Monica. Can we stay with you?" Just until we find jobs and our own place? I didn't hesitate. Of course you can. Stay as long as you need. It wasn't easy at first. My apartment was small, and we were all adjusting to living together as adults. But slowly, we found our rhythm. I helped them polish their resumes, practiced interview techniques with them. We stayed up late, talking through years of pain and misunderstandings. Weeks turned into months. Emma found a job at a local bookstore, while Lily started taking classes at a nearby community college. They insisted on contributing to rent and groceries, even though I told them it wasn't necessary. One night, as we sat around the dinner table, laughing over some silly story, I realized something. Our parents might never come around. Jake and Vanessa might never change. But that was okay. We had each other, and that was enough. As I looked at my sisters, strong, resilient, finally free to be themselves, I knew we'd be all right. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. As a real family should.
Hey there, I'm Sandra, 28 years old, and up until recently, I thought I had life all figured out. I manage a high-end electronics store downtown, and I was living what I thought was my best life with my husband, Michael, in our cozy apartment. But then, well, let me tell you how it all went south. It started when Michael's older brother, William, lost his job. Michael, being the soft-hearted guy he is, suggested William stay with us just for a few weeks. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to be supportive. I mean, family scambling, right? It'll only be a little while, Michael said, giving me those puppy dog eyes. He just needs to get back on his feet. I sighed, already feeling a bit uneasy. Fine, but he needs to pull his weight around here. Fast forward a month and William was still camped out on our couch, making zero effort to find a job. Our apartment felt smaller by the day, and the tension, well, you could cut it with a knife. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, I tripped over one of William's discarded pizza boxes. For crying out loud, William, I muttered. Michael poked his head out of the bathroom, toothbrush in hand. What's wrong, babe? I gestured at the mess. Does this look okay to you? Your brothers turned our living room into a landfill. Michael looked uncomfortable, shrugging. He's going through a rough patch. We just need to be patient. Patient. I was about to lose it, but I bit my tongue and headed to work, grateful for the escape. At the store, my boss Angela noticed my mood. You look like you could use a coffee, Sandra. Everything all right? I forced a smile. Just some family stuff, nothing I can't handle. My colleague Jason chimed in. Family drama. Do tell. I laughed, appreciating the distraction. Maybe later. Let's focus on those new product launches, yeah? As I was setting up a display, Mr. Oliver, our stern HR manager, approached me. Sandra, a moment. My heart skipped a beat. Did I do something wrong? No need to look so worried, he said, noticing my expression. I just wanted to remind you about our employee discount policy. It's a valuable benefit, but remember it's strictly for personal use only. I nodded, relieved. Absolutely, Mr. Oliver. I always play by the rules. Later that night, I met my best friend Lisa for drinks. I desperately needed to vent. Lisa, I'm at my wit's end. William's been with us for a month, and all he's done is raid our fridge and leave a trail of mess everywhere. Lisa frowned. That's not right. Have you talked to Michael about it? I nodded, frustrated. He just keeps making excuses for William. I don't know how much longer I can take this. You need to put your foot down, Lisa advised. It's your home too, you know. I knew she was right, but the thought of confronting Michael and William made my stomach churn. As I headed home, I braced myself for another evening of tension and dirty dishes. Little did I know, this was just the tip of the iceberg. The next Monday at work, I decided to check my employee account. Something didn't feel right, and when I opened the recent purchases, my heart nearly stopped. A 75-inch TV, 3 high-end gaming laptops, all charged to my employee discount. I felt sick to my stomach as I scrolled through the purchases, seeing a shipping address I'd never heard of. There was only one explanation. William. He must have somehow gotten hold of my discount code. That evening, I confronted him in our living room. Care to explain these? I shoved the printout of purchases in his face. William barely looked up from his phone. Oh yeah, thanks for letting me use your discount. Got some sweet deals. Letting you? I never said you could use my employee discount. I was practically shouting now. He rolled his eyes. Chill out, Sandra. You said I could use it that one time, remember? It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? This could cost me my job. Michael walked in, looking concerned. What's going on? I turned to him, hoping for support. Your brother's been using my employee discount without permission. He's jeopardizing my job. To my disbelief, Michael frowned at me. Come on, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. William wouldn't do that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? You're taking his side. I'm not taking sides, Michael said, but his tone said otherwise. Maybe you did tell him he could use it and forgot. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd never forget something as serious as giving out my discount code. This was my career on the line. The argument went on for hours, with William playing the victim and Michael defending him. That night, I went to bed feeling utterly alone in my own home. The next day at work, my worst fear came true. Mr. Oliver called me into his office, his expression grave. Sandra, we've noticed some unusual activity on your employee account. Care to explain? My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear myself speak. Mr. Oliver, I can explain. It wasn't me, it was. He held up a hand, cutting me off. We take these matters very seriously, Sandra. There will be a full investigation. Until then, I suggest you refrain from using your discount privileges. I nodded, feeling numb as I left his office. Angela, my boss, pulled me aside. Sandra, what's going on? I overheard your conversation with Mr. Oliver. I broke down and told her everything. Her face grew more concerned with every word. Oh, Sandra, she said softly, you need to understand how serious this is. If the investigation doesn't go in your favor, you could be terminated. The company might even pursue legal action for fraud. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I could lose my job, my career, everything I'd worked so hard for, all because of William's selfishness and Michael's blind loyalty. I felt completely trapped. My home life was in shambles. My marriage was on the rocks, and now my job was hanging by a thread. How had everything gone so wrong so fast? And more importantly, how was I going to fix this mess? The next day at work, I pulled Jason aside during lunch. Jason, I need your help. You're good with computers, right? He nodded, looking intrigued. What's up? I took a deep breath and spilled everything. To his credit, Jason listened without interrupting, his eyes widening as I explained. Damn, that's messed up. Of course, I'll help. Let's do some digging. Over the next few days, Jason and I worked tirelessly, scouring online marketplaces and tracing the items purchased with my discount. It didn't take long to find William's reselling accounts. Look at this, Jason said, pointing at his screen. These accounts go back years. Your brother-in-law has been running scams like this for a while. I felt a mixture of vindication and disgust. That snake. I bet he's done this to other people too. But I need more concrete evidence. That night, I set my phone to record and confronted William again. William, I know you used my employee discount without permission. I want you to admit it. He scoffed, unaware he was being recorded. Whatever, Sandra. Yeah, I used your discount. So what? It's not like you were using it. You had no right to do that. You've put my job at risk. Not my problem, he sneered. Maybe you should have thought about that before you gave me the code. I never gave you the code. You stole it, I replied, furious. William just shrugged and walked away. I stopped the recording, my hands shaking with anger. The next day, while William was out, I searched his room. In his email, I found messages to Michael, painting me as the bad guy and manipulating him into taking his side. I forwarded them to myself, feeling sick but determined. That evening, I called Lisa. I can't stay here anymore. Can I crash at your place for a while? Of course, honey. Come over right now. I'll help you pack. As we loaded my suitcase into Lisa's car, Michael came home. Sandra, what's going on? Where are you going? I couldn't even look at him. I'm staying with Lisa for a while. I need some space to think. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. No, Michael. You chose your side, now I'm choosing mine. At Lisa's apartment, I finally felt like I could breathe. She hugged me tightly. You're doing the right thing. Have you thought about legal action? I nodded. I have a friend from college who was a lawyer. I'm meeting her tomorrow. The next day, I met with Sarah, my lawyer friend. She listened carefully to my story and examined the evidence I'd gathered. Sandra, you've got a strong case here, not just against William, but potentially against the company if they try to terminate you unfairly. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. So what should I do? Keep gathering evidence. Don't confront William or Michael again. And stay professional at work. Buy time if you can, but don't do anything that could be seen as obstructing their investigation. Back at work, the atmosphere was tense. Mr. Oliver called me in for another meeting. Sandra, our investigation is ongoing. We're going to need to see your personal financial records. I took a deep breath, remembering Sarah's advice. I understand, Mr. Oliver. I'm fully cooperating with the investigation, but I'd like to request a few days to get those records in order. Is that all right? He nodded, slightly surprised by my calm demeanor. Of course. Please have them ready by Friday. As I left his office, I saw Angela watching me with concern. I gave her a small, determined smile. I was walking a tightrope, but I wasn't going to fall. Not this time. William had messed with the wrong person, and I was going to make sure he faced the consequences. Friday morning, I walked into Mr. Oliver's office with my head held high and a folder full of evidence. Angela was there too, looking nervous but supportive. Mr. Oliver, Angela, before we proceed with the investigation, there's something you need to see. I laid out everything. The recordings, the emails, the online reselling accounts. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to shock as they sifted through the evidence. Sandra, this is quite something, Mr. Oliver said, his usual stern demeanor softened. Why didn't you come to us earlier? I needed to be sure. I couldn't risk my career on suspicions alone. Angela spoke up. This clears you completely, Sandra, but it also means we have a serious case of fraud on our hands. Mr. Oliver nodded gravely. Indeed. We'll be pursuing legal action against William. Sandra, your handling of this situation has been exemplary. Relief washed over me, but I knew this was just the beginning. That evening, I met Michael at a coffee shop. His face was a mix of confusion and worry. Sandra, what's going on? Why did you want to meet here? Without a word, I slid the folder of evidence across the table. Michael's face fell as he read through William's manipulative emails. I don't know what to say, Sandra. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. Part of me wanted to forgive him on the spot, but the hurt was still too raw. You should have, Michael. I'm your wife. I needed you to trust me, and you didn't. Can we fix this? Us? I sighed. I don't know, Michael. I need time. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The company pressed charges against William for fraud. As news spread, his online reselling accounts were shut down, and he was banned from major platforms. Then, something unexpected happened. An old acquaintance of William's saw his arrest in the news and came forward with evidence of a past scam. William was hit with additional charges. I watched from afar as his carefully constructed house of cards came crashing down. Part of me felt sorry for him, but a bigger part felt vindicated. At work, things took a surprising turn. Mr. Oliver called me into his office again, but this time with good news. Sandra, in light of recent events and your exceptional handling of a difficult situation, we'd like to offer you a promotion. How does regional manager sound? I was speechless. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. I'd be honored. As I settled into my new role and my new apartment, I reflected on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the struggle, the vindication. It had all taught me valuable lessons of self-respect and setting boundaries, even with family. Michael and I were talking again, slowly rebuilding trust. Whether we fully reconcile, only time would tell, but I knew one thing for sure. I was stronger now, more successful, and free from toxic influences. Looking out the window of my new office, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The road had been tough, but I'd come out on top. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I was ready to face them head on. Hi, I'm Linda, 28 years old, working as an accountant at Bright Ideas. It's not a terrible job, but my coworkers? There's something else. Every morning, I pack my lunch into my trusty, beat-up lunchbox. Still brown bagging it, Linda? Jennifer sneers, strutting by in her designer heels. James can't resist chiming in either. Ever heard of Uber? He teases as he catches me waiting at the bus stop. Oh right, probably not in your budget. I grit my teeth, refusing to let their comments get to me. If only they knew why I save every penny. My little sister Pamela has been sick for years. Her treatments are expensive, and with our parents out of the picture, it's all on me. So yeah, I bring lunch from home, take the bus, and shop at thrift stores. Sue me. One afternoon, Lisa, with her fake smile plastered on, asks, Linda, we're all going out for drinks after work. Want to join? Oh wait, maybe that's not in your budget. I force a smile. Thanks, but I've got plans. My plans usually involve heading straight home to Pamela. She needs help with her meds, and honestly, I'd rather be with her than deal with these jerks. Tyler, the new guy in accounting, is the only one who treats me decently. After a particularly nasty comment from Jennifer about my clearance rack outfit, he leans in and whispers, "Don't let them get to you." I nod, grateful for his kindness. But I can't tell him or anyone else about Pamela and the experimental treatment I'm saving up for. That's my business. Later that week, I'm heating up my sad little microwave meal when Jennifer saunters into the break room with her entourage. Oh my God, did you see what Linda's wearing today? She stage whispers. I swear it's the same blouse from last month. Maybe she's going for a world record. James laughs, but I tune them out. I have bigger things to worry about than their petty comments. At home that evening, Pamela notices I'm quieter than usual. Rough day at the office? She asks, wincing as she stretches on the couch. I paste on a smile. Nothing I can't handle. How about we watch that new show you've been talking about? As we curl up on the couch, I remind myself why I endure the snide remarks and the isolation at work. One day, we'll have enough saved for that treatment. One day, Pamela will be better. And on that day, I'll walk into that office with my head held high, knowing every brown bag lunch and thrift store outfit was worth it. The office is decked out in tinsel and cheap decorations for our annual Christmas party. I'm already on edge, having spent the morning helping Pamela through a painful flare-up. Linda, you made it. Jennifer's voice drips with fake enthusiasm. Love the festive sweater, Goodwill's finest. I tug at my worn red sweater and force a smile. Thanks for noticing. All right, everyone. Jennifer claps her hands. Time for Secret Santa. I've forgotten all about it in the chaos of Pamela's recent hospital stay. Who's got Linda? Jennifer sing-songs. James steps forward with a smirk. That'd be me. He thrusts a box into my hands. I unwrap it slowly, aware of everyone watching. Inside is a brand new designer wallet. Thought you could use something to put all that money you're saving in. James laughs, and the room erupts in snickers. My face burns with embarrassment, but I keep my head down. Lisa interjects, pretending to be the voice of reason. Oh, come on, James, I'm sure Linda put a lot of thought into it. Later, I overhear them whispering in the corner. So Cancun in February? Jennifer gushes. Found this amazing all-inclusive resort. Sounds perfect. Lisa agrees. Just don't tell you know who. Can you imagine Linda on a beach? She'd probably bring bagged lunches to save money. Their laughter cuts through me like a knife. I turn to leave and nearly collide with Tyler. You okay? He asks, concern etched on his face. I nod, barely holding it together. I'm fine. I manage, then rush for the exit. At home, I find Pamela looking pale on the couch. How was the party? She asks weakly. I force a smile. Oh, office parties. Did you hear back about that new treatment? My heart clenches. Not yet, but don't worry. We'll figure it out. As I tuck Pamela into bed that night, I make a decision. I can't keep this up, the constant judgment, the isolation. It's wearing me down. The next morning, I catch Tyler before our first meeting. Can we talk? I ask hesitantly. He nods, leading me to a quiet corner. Taking a deep breath, I spill everything. Pamela's condition, the experimental treatment, why I pinch every penny. Tyler listened without interrupting, his eyes widening with each detail I revealed. When I finished, he shook his head in disbelief. Linda, I had no idea, he said softly. What you're doing for your sister, it's incredible. For the first time in months, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Someone finally knew. Someone understood. Thanks for listening, I said, managing a genuine smile. As we walked back to our desks, I overheard James and Jennifer snickering about my dollar store phone case. But this time, I held my head high. Let them laugh. They had no idea what real strength looked like. That evening, my heart nearly stopped when I got a call from the neighbor. Pamela had collapsed. I rushed her to the ER, panic tightening my chest. For 3 days, I barely left her side as the doctors ran test after test. On the fourth day, exhausted and sleep-deprived, I called the office. I need some time off, I told my manager. Family emergency. When I finally returned to work a week later, the atmosphere had shifted. Whispers followed me down the hallway, and I caught furtive glances from my colleagues. Jennifer and Lisa huddled by the water cooler, shooting me looks that felt like daggers. As I passed the break room, I heard James's voice. "I'm telling you, she's on her way out, probably embezzlement or something. Why else would she be so obsessed with money?" My blood ran cold. What the hell had they been saying about me while I was gone? Lisa approached my desk, her face a mask of fox concern. "Linda, honey, we've all been so worried. Is everything okay? We heard some things." "What things?" I asked warily. "Oh, she hedged. Just that you might be in some trouble. Financial issues, maybe, or personal problems." I gritted my teeth. "Everything's fine, Lisa. Thanks for your concern." As she walked away, I saw her whisper something to Jennifer, and they both burst into laughter. Tyler was the only one who treated me the same. He stopped by my desk, a concerned look in his eyes. "You okay? You seem stressed." I forced a weak smile. "I'm fine, just a lot going on." He hesitated. "Listen, I've been hearing some pretty wild rumors. Is there anything I can do to help?" Before I could answer, James's booming voice cut through the office. Well, look who finally decided to grace us with her presence. Feeling lazy, Linda?" Something in me snapped. All the stress, the worry about Pamela, the constant judgment, it all came pouring out. "Lazy?" I shot back, my voice shaking with fury. "You want to talk about lazy, James? How about spending your days gossiping and bullying instead of actually doing your job?" The office went dead silent. James's face turned a furious shade of red. "How dare you?" he began, but I cut him off. "No, how dare you? You have no idea what I've been dealing with. None of you do. You sit here in your little bubble, judging me for being cheap or stingy, when you don't know the first thing about my life." "Oh, please," Jennifer sneered. "We all know you're just a tightwad." "My sister is dying," I shouted, tears streaming down my face. "She's dying, and I've been killing myself trying to save money for an experimental treatment that might save her life. So yes, I bring my lunch, I take the bus. I shop at thrift stores because every single penny counts when someone you love is suffering." The silence that followed was deafening. James's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Jennifer looked like she'd been slapped, and Lisa had gone pale. Tyler stepped forward, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. "I think we all owe Linda an apology," he said firmly. "And maybe it's time we had a serious discussion about the toxic culture in this office." As I stood there, shaking with a mix of anger and relief, I realized something had fundamentally changed. The facade had crumbled, and for better or worse, the truth was finally out. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders. "I'm going to take the rest of the day off," I announced. "And when I come back tomorrow, I expect things to be different. If not, I'll be speaking to HR." With that, I grabbed my bag and walked out, leaving a stunned office in my wake. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. I walked into the conference room, my stomach in knots. Every employee was there, along with our CEO, Mr. Daniels. "Thank you all for coming," Mr. Daniels began, his voice stern. "It's come to our attention that there are some serious issues with our workplace culture that need to be addressed." I took a deep breath and stood up. "If I may, I'd like to share something." All eyes turned to me. Jennifer and James exchanged nervous glances. For the past 2 years, I've been saving every penny I can to help my sister Pamela. She has a rare condition, and there's an experimental treatment that could save her life. That's why I've been so frugal. The room went silent. I've endured constant mockery and bullying because of my choices. I continued, my voice steady. But it stops now. Mr. Daniels looked furious. "This is unacceptable. We're implementing a zero-tolerance policy for workplace bullying, effective immediately." James stood up, his face turning red. "Come on, it was just a bit of fun." "Mr. Stevens, you're suspended pending an investigation." Mr. Daniels cut him off sharply. As the meeting ended, Jennifer and Lisa approached me. "Linda, we had no idea," Lisa stammered. "We're so sorry." I held up a hand. "Save it. Your apologies mean nothing to me." 6 months later, I sat in the hospital holding Pamela's hand. The treatment had been grueling, but her doctors were cautiously optimistic. "Miss Thompson," a nurse called, poking her head into the room. "There's a call for you at the nurse's station." I picked up the phone, and to my surprise, it was Mr. Daniels. "Linda, I have some news," he said. "We're promoting you to senior financial analyst. Your dedication and financial acumen have been exemplary." I couldn't believe it. "Thank you, sir. That's wow." When I returned to work, the office had changed. James was gone, fired for harassing another coworker. Jennifer had been demoted and kept mostly to herself. Lisa tried to play nice, but most people gave her a wide berth. Tyler greeted me with a warm smile. "Hey, senior analyst, a few of us are grabbing lunch later if you'd like to join." I grinned. "You know what? I think I will." As I settled into my new role, I found myself forming real friendships. People respected me now, not just for my work ethic, but for my strength. One Friday, as I was packing up, Tyler stopped by my desk. "Big plans this weekend." I couldn't help but smile. "Actually, yeah, I'm planning a vacation, a real one, with Pamela. She's doing well enough to travel now." "That's fantastic. Where to?" "Thinking Hawaii. Figured I've earned some beach time." For the first time in years, I felt light, free. I had stood my ground, saved my sister, and come out stronger. As I stepped into the warm sunshine outside the office, I knew the best was yet to come. If you were in my position, would you have revealed your personal struggles to your coworkers sooner, or would you have kept it private?